Good morning. We'll begin. Jonathan. Thank you. It is now 10:06 a.m., March 1st, 2023. And I want to welcome everybody present today to your Senate chamber as we begin our confirmation hearing of those appointed by Governor Palacios and Lieutenant Governor Apatang. And to our viewing public, saludo para todos samzo ni Manega. We are live on local channel, cable channel 23, and we are also streaming live on Facebook on the legislature's Facebook page, just to let you guys know. I am Selena Babata, and I chair the Committee for Executive Appointments and Government Investigations. And before we proceed to the introductions and adoption of today's agenda, I would like to take care of some housekeeping rules. First, the committee appreciates minimal distractions during the session, while in session. And so we ask that everyone please take a moment at this time to silence all your electronic devices. Additionally, like I mentioned, we are live on Facebook. So even if we have the need to take a recess, Facebook will continue to stream live, just for your information. I now would like to recognize the members of the committee and the Legislative Bureau staff that are assisting us this morning. To my left here is the council assigned to the EAGI committee, Mr. Joe Bermudez. And to my right, front right, is Mr. Devin Macaranos, and he is the legislative assistant assigned to the EAGI committee. We also have our Sergeant at Arms to keep order in this chamber, the Senior Sergeant at Arms, Mr. Pedro Tawai, and we have our IT manager to my right, Mr. Jonathan Diaz. And I will now recognize the legislative assistant, Mr. Macaranos, to call the roll.
Senator Selena R. Babauta,
Presente.
Senator Paul A. Manglonia, Senator Donald M. Manglonia,
Present.
Senator Dennis C. Mendiola. Madam Chair, all members of the Senate EAGI committee are present.
Thank you, Mr. Macaranos. With all members present, we have the quorum necessary to conduct this public meeting, and I hereby call this confirmation hearing to order. Next up on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda. For the record, the notice of the agenda went out on February 15th in compliance with the Open Government Act, and the nominee has been notified on the same day. I will now like to recognize Senator Donald Manglonia for the proper motion to adopt today's agenda.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move for the adoption of today's agenda.
A motion has been made and it has been seconded. Are there any questions or concerns or discussions on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. Today's agenda is duly adopted. Next up, we will have, and I will recognize members of the committee if they would like to make any statements. If there are none, I would like to make a statement. Today, we will examine two nominees, Ms. Mary Margaret Santos Sablan, nominated for the position of Secretary, Department of Community and Cultural Affairs. And this afternoon, we will examine the nominee of Mr. Sylvan O. Igisomar for the position of Secretary, Department of Lands and Natural Resources. These nominations require the advice and consent of the Senate, a procedure that is unique to the Senate. This hearing is a part of our democratic process, which involves the legislature exercising its authority under the law to vet the education, the experience, and the character of each candidate. In order to express the committee's sentiments to either confirm or reject the nominee for the position they are nominated to. That is why we are here today. This nomination comes at a time of turbulent financial times ahead. We each, as members of this committee, have a responsibility to ask probing questions to determine the qualification beyond academic and professional standing. In this hearing, we will be asking the nominee questions of vital concerns to the community and to the public. Are there any other members who wish to make any statements? If not, no. Okay, if not, we will proceed. I now open the floor for public comments at this time. Sarge, the floor is open. And if you are going to make public comments, I ask that you please state for the record the entity or business you represent, and we will allot you about approximately 5 minutes. The floor is open. You may proceed.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Senator Selena, Roberto Babauta, and your distinguished and esteemed honorable committee. I'm not here for public comment myself, Madam Chair, but I understand that there's a deviation from prior protocols. But I'm here to just, bring and introduce officially the nominee of Governor Arnold Indalecio Palacios and that of Lieutenant Governor David Mundu Apatang, nominee for the first nominee and first cabinet hearing to be conducted by the 23rd Senate. So that being said, if no one from the public, Madam Chair, I can proceed.
Please do so.
Thank you. Once again, Madam Chair, good morning. Buenas, Safade, and Piro Talu. Chairwoman Babauta and the honorable members of this committee. For the record, my name is Oscar M. Babauta, the newly appointed Special Assistant for the Administration of the Palacios Apatang Administration. I'm here to introduce and had the opportunity and thank the administration for allowing me the opportunity to appear before you and your esteemed members of this EAGA committee. And introduced this morning Miss Mary Margaret Santos Sablan, fondly known as Maggie in general by the Commonwealth, most of the Commonwealth citizens, and especially the families and friends of hers. Mrs. Sablan has brought with her over 49 years of experience throughout the public and both public and private sector. She is no stranger at all to the Department of Community and Cultural Affairs, known as DCCA. In addition to being the former Chief of Administrative Services for the department for almost 10 years, Ms. Sablan has worked for the Sinamay Public School System, the Developmental Disability Planning Office, the Sinamay Museum of History and Culture, and of course, one of the conglomerate hotel industry in the island of Saipan and in the Sinamay, the Tan holding groups of company, and also recently, as recent as about a few months ago, with the Northern Marianas Humanities Council. Per se, I would only fathom that Ms. Sablan brought with her a wealth of experience, skills, and knowledge in attaining such an accolade based on her resumes that are submitted to your attention, Madam Chair, and that of the committee members. I'm sure that when you review those documents, you'll find positive end result in deliberation regarding the nominee's character. At the same time, she has also served on the boards of the American Red Cross, the NMI chapter, the Northern Marianas Trade Institute, and of course Mount Carmel School, and studied at the University of Colorado, and served our country in the United States Army. A veteran herself. Governor Palacios and Lieutenant Governor David Mapatang places their full trust and confidence in Mrs. Maggie Sablon to serve as Secretary of Community and Cultural Affairs, DCCA. I'm honored and proud to sit before you and your members to answer any questions and present her and for her to present her plans for the future. Her history of professional experience, credentials, and commitment to the Commonwealth in this capacity makes her an invaluable candidate and most appropriately a viable candidate. I kindly ask for your expeditious approval as you deliberate on her nomination, Madam Chair and members, that we act swiftly, as we all know that our Commonwealth is currently on standby mode. With the absence of cabinet heads within various departments acting officially, until such time all of them are confirmed, we wanted to move forward as expedient as possible so that we may alleviate and curtail any unnecessary government activities in the future. So I'm hoping, and also it is my fervent hope and that of the administration's fervent hope, that we continue to look at the administration presentation of its nominees, or rather their cabinet members, and act on them swiftly. That being said, Madam Chair, thank you very much. Jesus Masi Dangiliso, dan buenos días para todos sa pagkutalunogan ni Hamzulo Kini Kumatesia. At this time, I officially introduce Miss Maggie, known to me personally, Miss Maggie Santos Sablan, Mary Margaret Santos Sablan, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Babalta. The floor is still open for public comments, if anyone would like to step up. Please state your name for the record and the entity you represent.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Babalta, and members of the EAGI Committee. My name is Walter Manglonia, Director for the CNMI Office on Aging under the Department of Community and Cultural Affairs. I worked under the department for over 2 decades and under many management. And throughout the years, we've assisted senior citizens, their families, people with disabilities, and caregivers in our community. It's a very important program. And we assisted our elderly populations on the islands of Saipan, Rota, and Tinian. And I'm here today just to let everybody know that, we all know that when a division director works well with the department secretary, great things happen. I am pleased to express my strong support for Ms. Mary Margaret Santos Sablan, we all know her as Maggie, to be our new department secretary. You heard earlier, her vast experience speaks for itself, and her experience in the department. She's without a doubt one of the kindest people I've met. She's very professional, competent, and very open-minded. Our department deals directly with people in our community, from children to the elderly. I have full confidence in her leadership and admire her determination and abilities to work with all of our division heads and staff to ensure that we deliver the best programs and services to the people out in our community. So I can't think of a better person for the job, and I'm actually really, really excited to work with her. She's such an amazing person and very wonderful to work with, and that's an understatement. So thank you for the opportunity and allowing me to share my thoughts on this appointment. And on behalf of myself and a lot of people within the Department of Community and Cultural Affairs, I ask you to please confirm this wonderful lady since she's so supportive, to all of our people, from children to our manamko. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Magnolia. The floor is still open for public comments.
Good morning, Chair and this honorable body. My name is Vivian Sablan, Administrator for the Division of Youth Services under DCCA. On behalf of the DCCA Division of Youth Services, it is a privilege and honor to share our full support for the Governor's nomination of Mrs. Mary Margaret Sablan for the DCCA Secretary position. As one of the largest departments under the executive branch, DCCA oversees a vast array of programs and service delivery. In serving numerous divisions, in addition to the Office of the Secretary, and counting in over 150 employees under DCCA, most especially extending programs out to Saipan, Tinian, and the Rota communities, the position of the DCCA Secretary requires one that upholds strong leadership qualities, one that is able to address ongoing community challenges, and one that possesses the qualities to be able to be responsive to these community needs. As DCCA provides services that directly affect the livelihood of our CNMI families, it is important that whoever will be charged with these responsibilities come in with the background, knowledge, and skills necessary to support these vital programs, which serves our CNMI population, ranging from our newborns to our manamkos. Mrs. Sablan is no stranger, as you guys have heard earlier, as she served as the Chief of Administrative Services for the department from 1993 to 2002. During her time with DCCA, she was able to manage the department's fiscal and personnel functions, including serving as a liaison between the department secretary and the divisions, taking on the management role for the child care licensing and the LIHEAP programs, and most especially writing federal grants that brought in the financial resources for the department. She is knowledgeable of the public laws creating the department and the divisions with its program mandates that guides the respective day-to-day operations. Along with the 5 years she committed to DCCA, Mrs. Sablan holds an extensive background working with various organizations that deal directly with the general community in various capacities. She brings with her an extensive background on human resource, fiscal management, planning and budget, grant writing and compliance, monitoring and evaluation, data compilation, training coordination, program coordination and implementation, community outreach, social events, community projects, and the list goes on. Several months ago, I had the opportunity to work with Mrs. Sablan as DYS took on a partnership project with the Humanities Council at the Cagman Community Center. With this engagement, I was able to review the report that Mrs. Sablan took a lead role compiling, covering the various Humanities Council community projects. Very extensive and very impressive. As where DCCA's program and service delivery stands right now, how it has transformed and progressed these past several years, how more opportunities for children and families are evident and readily accessible, we truly believe that Mrs. Sablan's leadership skills, passion for contributing to a thriving community, and humble personality can further pave the way for expanded community and cultural opportunities for Sinamai children and families. With this, we humbly seek your utmost favorable support for Mrs. Sablan's nomination for DCCA Secretary. Thank you and good morning.
Thank you, Ms. Sablan. The floor is still open.
Buenas and half a day, Madam Chairwoman Selena R. Babautas and Hamzui Manonorobli na membro ng GI na komite. Guahil si Rita Chong de la Cruz, Ginini Division Historic Preservation Office, Departamento ni Departamento ni Community and Cultural Affairs. Gagi Zugwini Pago na Ogan, para by support tayo nomination para DCCA Secretary Senora Maggie Sablon. Namaguf na oni para hami ni empleyado DCCA sa si Mrs. Sablon ginin DCCA halukwi. I DCCA na department, dongkulo na department. Ha necessita sekretarya ni hatungo por todo i programa siha zani serbisyo para itaw-tawta. Todo i experiensya niya por bandan tsotso, gaigi i para hufa na juda. I DCCA lokwi kada dia ginigi tanota mangagi itaw-taw niya para hufan maprotehi famaguun zani familia, para hufan maundray manomko, para hufan maprotehi zan maabibay kulturata, i historia, i kanta, i baila zan todo traditions si tanota. Si Maggie Sablon mas listo zan kapas, zan mas importante, gagi ki corazon niya para hufan na juda. Por favor, confirm si Mary Margaret Sablon para DCCA Secretary. Jesus Masi.
Si sus Mase, Directora Senora de la Cruz. The floor is still open.
Mic check, mic check. Good morning, everybody. Madam Chair and this body. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Parker Yobe, and I'm with the Commonwealth Council for Arts and Culture, which is a division under the Department of Community and Culture Affairs. I think everybody pretty much said everything. So I'm just going to share a little bit of my history with Maggie, working with Maggie in the past. I've worked with her in different capacity, and this goes way back, I think, when she was with the TAN Corporation. Every year, we look for donors for our programs, whether it's federal or local. When Maggie was with the TAN Holdings, she was big part of the big funding that was coming from their sponsorship for Flame to Arts Festival, the art exhibits that we do. She always made sure that we had a place in the table and we had a chance to ask for funding. And she's always been supportive in our programs, and I know she believes in preserving our culture, our indigenous and diverse cultures in the CNMI. So I'm here today in full support to her appointment, and I hope you guys can consider her. Thank you and have a good day.
Thank you, Mr. Yobe. I thought when you were doing your mic test, you would bust out a song for us, but maybe another time. The floor is still open.
I need my binocular first. Half a day, Tiro, and good morning. My name is John Palacios. I work for the Division of Historic Preservation Office under the Department of Community and Culture Affairs. I am very grateful to have this opportunity to appear before you, this body, this morning to share a brief testimony about Mrs. Mary Margaret Kisa Santos Sablon. I have known Mrs. Sablon for many years in an individual capacity, and I also worked under this same department for several years in the past. I have known her to be a very bright, very skilled, very humble, patient, and easy to work with, the type of an individual. I trust and I feel very confident, comfortable, and peaceful that Mrs. Sablon will do an exceptional job in guiding and directing the operation and management of this size of a department towards the right direction accordingly. I truly believe that she will not let us down. So with this, I am deeply honored to respectfully inform this body that I am fully supporting the appointment of Mrs. Sablon, whom is currently serving as the Secretary of the Department of Community and Cultural Affairs in an acting capacity, to be confirmed as Secretary of DCCA. And I kindly ask for your consideration and favorable approval of her appointment. Si Diyos mo sinistin na putin nila talo ni ang siya mi para ben fangagi vinit para ben fantistigo para si Mary Margaret na Sablon. No tiningo ni stin individual no mampus no inason niya dyan ikurason niya mampus no anafan tranquilit dyan no comprendizon dyan kapas dyan no jangi nung quintutusis tinan individual unse siente nagwapos ikurason mo. Sa siyempre todo tempo importannya mababa za tuna fantik kungit. Kasi na decision na in appoint no confirm izon niya no appointment si Mrs. Sablon. Donc na si Jesus Masi.
Jesus Mase, Senor Palacios. The floor is still open.
Undang na respeto dan undang na si Diyos Masi pero naido nito na oportunidad de pabikutusamzo put in nominee as Margaret Sablon. I am from the Department of Community and Cultural Affairs, Aging, Office on Aging. I am a congregant to the program. In the Manamco, in the Aging Center,
Dispenso, Senor. Senor, declara non mo?
my name is Jesus Basa Pangilinan.
Jesus Mase.
I am a congregant to the Office on Aging. And what we need really for the department is a person who is kind, considerate, and patient. Those are very, very important to us. Tamanamko. Margaret is very, very competent to be the secretary for the Department of Community and Cultural Affairs. Before coming over here, I asked the Manamko if they are in favor of approving the nomination of Margaret Sablon. And all the Manamko, about 99%, are truly in favor of the nomination of Margaret Sablon. And I am asking you, please approve and confirm the nominee of Margaret Sablon. I have nothing but respect and admiration for all of you, and I wish that the nominee be confirmed. She will be very, very advantageous to all the division of the Department of Community and Cultural Affairs. She is very well competent. And I think the most important thing for us is a person who is considerate, patient, and cares about the Manamku and all those under the Division of Youth Services. I wish and I hope that you will approve the confirmation of Margaret Sablan. Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening. Madam Chair, thank you, and all members for listening to my testimony. Thank you.
Si susmase, Senhor Pangilinan, ni testigumo pago na ogan. Then si susmase ni respeto ni nanais na komite. The floor is still open.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members. My name is Annie Picklesheimer.
Good morning.
I'm a private citizen, and I'm here to support Miss Maggie Sablon. She is qualified, and I agree with all the testimonies that was presented to the committee. She is one candidate that I know she will bring the department to a full operation. Thank you for your support.
Si susmase, Senhora Picklesheimer. Floor is still open.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Babauta, members of this committee. My name is Barbara Torres Sablon, and I come in as a private citizen and a co-worker of Maggie. I used to work with her at the public school system, and she was under the grants programs coordinator within the public school system. So as you can see, the vast department also, or public school system, is almost the same as the Department of Community and Cultural Affairs. It's a big department, and I, for one, can testify that Maggie will be an asset to the department, as well as an addition to her knowledge in bringing in grants, for she herself is a grant writer. That's another big plus for a huge department where they can be able to tackle or to get grants within the division that would be most needed. So therefore, I come before you members to please confirm Ms. Maggie Sablon for the position of Secretary of the Department of Community and Cultural Affairs. Thank you.
Si susmase, Senhora Sablon. The floor is still open. If there are none, recognize Senator Donald Manglonia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Before we proceed, if there's no other comments, if anyone has written comments they would like to provide to the committee, to please hand it over to Sergeant Arms so we can attach it to the committee report. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Manglonia. Recognize Senator Paul Manglonia.
Tauza Chair, this time malagazo by reconisa manang kota siya ne mangagi manita pago na ogan se bonitos ti sa mankineni mogi na director za mansisya mogi todos buenos dias para amzo ne mangagi manita.
If there are no further public comments, we will close that item on our agenda today, and we will proceed with the order of business. Thank you. Moving on. We will move now to new business, and I'd like to ask the nominee, Ms. Mary Margaret Sablon, to please rise and raise your right hand while you are administered the oath by our legislative assistant, Mr. Macaranas.
Miss Mary Margaret Sablon, you do solemnly swear, under the penalty of perjury, that the testimony you shall give in the matter at hand shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. You may be seated. I will now afford the nominee, Ms. Sablon, an opportunity to recognize any family members or anybody in the audience she would like to recognize today. And if she would like, she may make her opening statements or remarks at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair and honorable members of this committee. Um, Forgive me, I'm a little bit speechless because I'm not quite used to hearing people talk about me in front of me. Sometimes I would rather they talk about me behind me. But yes, this is new, but it's good. We have to do what we have to do. And so I feel that everybody just took things up a notch for me. But in everything I do, really, I would do my best. Yes, I've been with DCCA for 10 years, but that was 19 years ago. I am a retiree, and I have come out of retirement because of my appointment by Governor Arnold Palacios and Lieutenant Governor David Apatang. I am happy to serve, and especially a department that I've been I worked with for most of my work life. It's a wonderful place to be. It's also a place where you have a lot of people and you serve a lot of people, thus a lot of issues. So, but it's very fulfilling. The services we provide to our people from birth to Manomku is very fulfilling. When you look at their faces after helping them, of course, there's always going to be glitches and hiccups here and there, but you work with it and you try to resolve it. There's no other way. And there's no place in the world that will be perfect to work in or to be in. There's always a mess somewhere we got to fix, but we work with it. And I'm happy, I'm open to. And retirement is wonderful. If you have things to do, it is wonderful. But I found myself, without thinking, without even asking my family, I found myself accepting, yes, I will help the Department of Community and Cultural Affairs. So you see where my heart is. So I can only offer my best, and I will do whatever I can to help in any and every way. So that I can promise, and there's nothing more I can give. But I would like to thank God for life every day. We had a health scare a little bit ago, about a year ago, but thank God for life every day. I thank the governor and the lieutenant governor for this appointment, this opportunity to be of service. I thank you, you honorable senators and members of this committee, for this opportunity. And confirmed or not, I still will serve in any capacity. I also thank my family. My children are not here, but they know I've accepted this job. But I thank my husband, who his unending support is just amazing, and everyone who's here today. I'm overwhelmed, and those who are not here also, who called and texted and emailed, and I know there's a lot of family out there and friends who are thinking of me, but all I can offer is my service to the community. I love our island. My kids have relocated, but I can't bring myself to move. So it has to say something about my island. And with that, I will leave in humble peace and harmony. And I thank you all for this opportunity.
Thank you, Ms. LeBlanc. I want to thank you for, as you mentioned, you're a retiree, but answering the call to active service back in our Sinamite government, that speaks volumes. But at this time, we will proceed with the question and answer portion. But before we do so, I wanted to let everybody know you're welcome to stay. We will examine the nomination of Mr. Sylvan Igisomwa this afternoon. So if you guys need to leave, you may do so at this time, but you're all welcome to stay to listen to the question and answer portion. And for those, like I said, you can return at 2 p.m., but we will proceed with the question and answer portion. And at this time, I'd like to recognize Senator Donald Miglonia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, good morning to you, Acting Secretary, as well as to everyone in the audience, and for those of you who came out and to show your support for the confirmation of Acting Secretary. But I also want to congratulate you, Secretary Sablan, on your appointment to the Secretary of DCCA. And I also want to thank you for your contributions you've made to not just the government, but to the private sector as well as nonprofit organizations that you've been a part of. And I truly commend you for coming back to offering your services and expertise in this area. And so while I know there are much bigger challenges ahead, I hope to hear about how you plan to continue to provide services to our public amidst our current financial condition. And so with that, I'll just start off with some general questions and then pass it on to the rest of the members, and then we can come back and go into division questions if that's something that you're prepared to answer. And again, I also want to commend you for this is a pressure being the very first appointee that is going through this confirmation hearing. And so if at any point you need me to clarify any questions, please feel free to do so. So I'll just start off with some preliminary questions. Acting Secretary, I know that it has been over 19 years since you've been with the Department of Community and Cultural Affairs, but I just want to ask, from when you left it to when you've come back, what are some of the significant changes you've seen? And in addition to that, where do you see the department, if confirmed, where do you see the department in 4 years?
Well, that's that excellent question, actually. What's different now from 19 years ago is new faces, new young aspiring leaders, and new ideas. Munis has taken over, and so management is different. But I do understand that change is inevitable, and then we have to work with the times. So what plans do I have? When I joined the DCCA in 1993, we had zero operating budget. And when now entering the department again, we are at zero operating budget. So, this is, when I look at it, deja vu, yeah. I just have to think again, well, times are different. What did I do back then? I wrote a lot of grants. And thankfully, there are grants out there that support programs, projects, Manamko, children, and we just have to find them. And that's how our department, which is not considered as essential as healthcare, education, public safety, public infrastructure, and things like that, we do have grants out there that can qualify our programs, projects, and the people we serve. So that's one plan. every year, our divisions have at least one major event. I would like to keep that going because that's the life of our culture. And if we don't have money, at least we have a culture to hold on and celebrate. So, we just have to be a little bit more creative, more innovative in how we do things. Um, I I have aged honestly in the last 20 years, but I feel too that in the experience and the paths I've traveled, I think I got a little wiser. So I bring that to the table also with the young minds that we have in our divisions, and I'm so willing to work with their ideas as well in finding ways to make things happen for us.
Thank you for that. And so, based on your observation to date since stepping into the department, uh, do you what divisions do you feel have lacked the attention, if any, and what are your plans to address that?
I've only been in 6 days. It's a little bit hard to gauge that just yet, but I did make time to go around and meet all the employees, as I wanted them to know who their secretary was. And I have yet actually to visit maybe 3 or 4 divisions, but I visited the big ones, and I haven't gotten to that part yet to see which division has been uh, deprived attention, but I feel that all of them have moved forward, and in the last 10, 15 years, and it's a positive, move. So, like I said, I feel like everybody's taken things up a notch, and so has the value and status of each division. So I think that all the divisions have been tended to, maybe not equally, but some are smaller than others. Some are have more issues than others. So, you know, I I think the balance of attention might still be different. It won't be equal, I don't think, moving forward.
Thank you. Sorry, that may have been an unfair question. I see that
Oh, that's
the
okay.
appointment was since February 2nd. So now it just changes a lot of things knowing that you've been in there for 6 days. But, just within the 6 days, or maybe even since the appointment, have you had the chance to review the transition report?
Uh, Not in full as written, but I did go over. My goal, really, when I went in, was to see where each division is at the present time. What is on their plate in the present time? Um, you know, uh, I love reports, but I like to live in real time. I like to know things in real time because that's when you know what are really on your plate that you need to tackle in physical. But yes, I did read part of the report, but not in full.
Okay. What about any citizen-centric report that came out of the department? Have you had the chance to review those?
I had a chance to review the citizen-centric report, the latest one for DCCA.
Um, what are your thoughts on based on what was presented in the report? I know, the point of the report is to give the community a chance to understand the department more, and so yeah, I just want to hear what are your initial thoughts after reviewing that report.
Mm. Well, the citizen-centric report really presented a lot of what they were doing at the time because it reported on the previous year. DCCA is always doing things in the community. So report from DCCA is always shining. Budget-wise, they have a lot of federal money. And so that's how they survive. But I didn't see anything in the report that was anything negative. Again, I really thrive on real time, because that's where the issues are with this division, with this department. My 6 days that I came in, I made plans. I'm going to meet with each individual director to see what's on their plate and know, well, what do you need my office to support you with? But a lot of the plans I put together to meet with them, it just, there's things that go on. I have to go to that division. There's a client issue. I need to be there. So, there's permit issues. I need to be there. There's just things in that department that happen every day that you need to live in the moment to make sure you are 100% there. The citizen-centric report that was done, it just reported on what they did the year before. I didn't see anything significant that was fast forward into the present. But I commend Joe Guerrero to he was with DCCA for many years. He did an excellent job.
Okay. And just last one before I pass it on. I know you've mentioned that in the past 6 days you've had a chance to meet with your division heads. Just based on that conversations that you've gotten started, what are some of the major challenges that you've already heard of from each of your divisions?
Well, you'd have to go. Each division has unique issues to them. We had an opportunity to meet with the federal visitors from the federal government. FNS team was here for food stamps a couple weeks ago. So I had an opportunity to meet with them. They're expecting our presence at the upcoming negotiations in May. So, out of the blue, to ask for more funds to help those who are losing their jobs, who are at risk of losing their jobs. Talking about people that will be let go because of the depletion of ARPA. That's one of the things we had to look forward. We asked FNS if they could consider that. That's on the table. So that's one. We hope that they'll consider a figure that we threw out. Hopefully, between $20 to $30 million will be available for more subsidies and more food stamps for our people. There's also the issues of our essential employees who will lose their jobs because of ARPA. For example, our staff archaeologists, very essential to historic preservation. We have to be creative, innovative, and look for how we can make sure he's retained to get our services and our mandates met. That's one. And the same on ARPA retention for some other divisions as well. So that's kind of on our plate.
Thank you, Acting Secretary. Madam Chair, at this time, I yield.
Thank you, Senator Mangonia. Are there any other members? I recognize Senator Dennis Mandiota.
Good morning, Mr. Bond. First of all, congratulations on your nomination. I know that coming into the executive branch is probably one of the most challenging coming back from retirement, especially given the fact that our funding is going to be challenging. So, and also, I was looking at your resume, and I want to go back to your graduation date. I just want to point out the fact that your graduation date was around the time I was born. So I'm not going to really get into too far of 19 years of service back then, but I do want to focus some of the attention on what are your plans? Because like the Honorable Senator here said, it's unfair for us to kind of start grilling about some of the issues with the department, being that it's only been 6 days. So let me reel it down to your personal. What are your plans personally? What do you plan to accomplish in the next 4 years, given the financial situation that we're in currently?
You know, I was thinking about that over the last 6 days since my first day in, because I never dreamed of giving up my retirement, just so you know. When I was asked to come in and help DCCA, I was very surprised. I never thought I would get out of retirement. But my plans for the next 4 years, there's nothing really solid as, and I'm sorry. I don't mean to look like I came in unprepared and that as if I didn't know I was going to sit here and talk to you. But really, DCCA is something that you just because you're the secretary, you plan on your own. You know, you plan the department with your division directors. And I need my division directors to plan that. I am not going to, and I'm a planner. I'll let you know that. My family will tell you that I think and I think and I think about things. My son wanted to open a business. It took me a year to say yes. Okay, let's try it. Let's do it. Because there's so many things to look at. You know, you look at budget. You look, can you afford it? Can you do it? Do you have the people? Do you have the knowledge? Do you have the ability? But in DCCA, the divisions are not the same. And so you're going to have more than one plan. You cannot really have one plan for all. It's all different. So I don't think it's fair for me to have a 4-year plan without the input of my division directors. They also need to be part of that planning. So I can assure you that it's the first and foremost is to be able to meet the mandates of each division, because when we serve people, there are rules to follow, do's and don'ts, and that's the first thing we got to make sure we don't deviate from. I'm all about doing the right thing, and so that's number one. And then we can think of what else can we do. For example, in NAP, we can try to help those able-bodied clients to try to find jobs, get the training they need. That's in NAP, for example. In historic preservation, we can find there's new technology now that can help them with their field work, their tech work. So, those are the things we got to explore. Also, getting into technology. DCCA, while it's all about traditions and culture, we do want to live in the time, in the technology time. So, I can assure you that it's a forward movement, and it's all about upgrading. It's going to be helping more of our community and not just giving out subsidies. It's going to be more than that. But the division directors will have to take part in that planning with me.
Thank you for that. So what I took from all of that is that you're going to incorporate your division directors into the planning.
Yes.
Should you get confirmed.
Yes.
And that's really outstanding because, running an agency with over 200 employees, or if that, it's going to require a team. And I like the idea of incorporating the division directors and actually taking those inputs that they have as they are subject matter expert, being that you've been out for over 19 years. Some of these guys are probably like experts by now in some of the fields that they represent. So it's outstanding that you're going to incorporate that. And I think one of the biggest issues that we have is that, should somebody get appointed, we get the notion that, we're boss in the agency, like what we say is golden, but then what we fail to realize is that, our experts are really our troops, our boots on grounds, right? So I like that. A follow-up question that I have is, I want to go to aging program. Do you have any plans for the facility? We hear a lot of great reports from the transition on aging programs, so I like to just point that out. But one of the challenges is dilapidating facility, and given the fact that the financial situation that we're in, there's really no absolute answer to this, but maybe just indulge us with what you think we can do to move forward.
On facility, I'm sorry, you're talking about the structure?
Structure, ma'am, yeah.
Okay, I have yet to meet one-on-one with the director of the aging program. We sat briefly about a urgent matter, but we have a schedule to meet about many other things that he's tackling right now. I'm thinking maybe one of those things on the agenda is infrastructure. But yes, I visited the Manamco, and I was able to walk through a big part of the facility. There is a section there that is not currently in full use because some of the programs, some of the work has been outsourced. So yes, we would have to do an assessment to see where we're at with that. That's the main place we have to make sure that it's safe and secured for our clients, our manamkos that go there. So I am not privy yet to the details of problems on the structure, but I'm sure that the director is on top of it, and it's probably one of the things on our agenda when we meet.
Thank you. So I also want to ask, just because my constituents, or I want to make sure that I represent Rhoda as well when I'm up here. I'd like to ask that should you get confirmed, that you consider also visiting our island and making sure that we address some of the situations down there. I got that we get our funding source, when we do our fiscal year budget, but it'll be nice if we try and work together with both Tinian and Rhoda as well. Madam Chair, I yield for now.
Thank you, Senator Mendiola. I have a few questions.
Chair,
Yes, recognize Senator Manglonia.
i-chairwoman debut mo.
I will recognize Senator Paul Manglonia only because he's
I-
older than I am.
Speaking of order,
The respeto, no.
speaking of order,
Takakatika
lani
gini,
na
pare manamko.
hinubi no secretary agin mafanyago mafanyago si Den in 1981 or
Yeah, I graduated high school in 81. Yes, but it's okay. I can go on record. I'm not ashamed. I'm 60 this year.
I actually that brings me Palestina pinena mampus gimana guide on Roger no nene ponzuti retirement apron sacrificia de nalamos and di familia no se tenika guatu na no si suspensi non considera ne paron sacrificial di pon ajuda tati ito tota pwede sti departamento mo na gini famagunulo este manamko todo na klasin servicio pwede gibanan kultura lo que no pues si suspensi ne no local siguro. Muna faisin sa no bulapago no financial na problema gi gobernamentota no gi meeting siya na man masusesi di no pago gwa siya no diskusyon po no para no esta tungwa di siya man mahayo gi ARPA no antilatsi so gwa gi departamento mo 14 no na ARPA 13 ng ARPA. Tracy, no man mahayog yung ARPA na gista yung katolzi para malang no tinsano no pisti local Tracy no no pusko lang basya no minakat simple na desisyon no fatina sa nebyung pesa gi sirbisyo ko ang posisyon ng empleyado matsochogi na nuzo pusinigi chicho mo no za izo na liku pwede siguro na parang olum gwini parang honesty siya na problema za no kumekinto so loke sa ungu ka na ligmo izo mo no experience gagi bandang grants za give din ang siyaw na bula siya grants gini gi CNCA. Unfortunately, no inigi may mention si Senator Dennis Pulutan Tinian no inigi lala keno na banda i training para maulig man pika grant da dipepindi siya majuria gi tempo gi local funds da inigi pagot tungo na mas menos si local funds pues no gua gini actually no lista benayo no Sarge no Julifan isti Jonathan ti expecto pon comment pagulo isi concern siya no manoyjo gegan no lista ginin i nuevo na matanso na resident director si former Congressman Crispin Ogo man meeting na ni Tautonia no siya siguro jo nakinto departamento gidatinian mana actually siya no problema niya no dan necesidad niya so siya nagadesi un atan no Madam Secretary gini na problema HPO manisita siya sampu training para GIS no malum no junior few needs para pumukondukta archaeological survey malum siya por no historic preservation review board submission pa manamkota dan mamalongo wa siya pa extendigi por language policy commissions and sports divisions and mention po desti aging center manisita no backup generator za wagi ni siya no watan siya dinansichaw na gwa sa lapi lo ipata cheka gi pata aplika grant za enigi no namagufo na umong na enigi zomo strength na sa enigi pago na debi mas ta pega ani musuta kwato za ta manispia judo gi bula siya na fondo mana sinya mana fan available so tisinya bitti mas be emphasis still gua por exemplo CDBG DR za mampuzo disappointed ya latsa na gua siya na programa sinya mo mafondo gweno na usasangan gi za luta lo in miss oportunidad no za sinya mong gano generator molon sa i-central manamko man nasisibi kada typhoon no ang typhoon mamawagan siya komunidad ano watu gi za no fanatuk gi during typhoon na position na precision na backup generator gi lo sinya mo no mafundo gi ni grants siya no taza no besangan na jomo challenge i budget za na no sigun gi taungog gi jomo siya division director na manggagi gini ungo gini siya na mapus masapuputaw za odisya siya na infan matsutsu kumuno za ta upos siya na typhoon itapapa na pago na no uno gi masangan po desti transition report no Madam Secretary by quote and then there appears to be no cross-divisional understanding of how the subdivision's role affects the mission and objectives of the entire DCCA. Majority of the divisions appear to be riddled with duplicative work and poor utilizations of funds. This analysis suggests that several divisions of the agency require desk and financial audits. At na panino na statement report the sinya ni looking na judo masumata ni Izomo budget no then how to operate the Izomo department. Manam ko na programa gi sigun gi esta mo ka to di programa niya manam ko wasya man makat programa na Devi ben tingo mon maza bay tutun ganon na question.
Unuhan na programa o inquire gagay programa lo i funding 20 depleted inigi uno necesita be reconocimos no i respite program no kinimprende ko na todo y otro na programa siya no gagay dan memit ko da so ko fangok ko si Walter no stalaan mam gi pusek ko na kasi maulik ti Sonia no sino staga sumuzong lo maulik no ti Sonia sana anafan mamaguf magaya di manom ko so angok ko na na i Sonia siya no funding i salapi manom ko na no suficiente gi presente para i-offer ta sotsogilo necesita más para ta soporta ta gi respite program no importante lo que no gini gi tanuta umbiay wow kintutusi po da nursing home availability of services para nursing home za una bin reconoce no na programa lo que ko sinya offer i manom ko no tagi i aging program gi US no ko guane no federal funding para no siya na klase na judo lo que so expansion is the thing no tas pipya offer siya talo na programa sinya ta assiste ni i totota manam kota zani pamagunta.
Madam Chair, Guasialo base está para pago si dos monsi.
Citizens want to sit Senator Poe. At this time, we will take a 5-minute recess. Good morning. It is now 11:32 a.m. and we are back from recess. And prior to the recess, Senator Paul Manglonia had the floor and he yielded his time back to the chair. And before I proceed with my own line of questioning, I wanted to acknowledge a written testimonial in support of the nominee, Miss Mary Margaret Sablon, by Dr. Liz Reebe. And I just want to state that for the record, that, and I quote, based on her personal character, qualifications, and experiences in government, business, religious, and nonprofit, she will be a great asset in leading such a major department with several interrelated services for the people of the CNMI. Moving along, in the 6 days that you have been with DCCA, that you reported to the department, you mentioned that you went around meeting with your division directors and visiting their offices. What has been your observation? You said you wanted to see where they're at. So in your observation, where are they at? Where is your division at in terms of, and I'll allow you to elaborate on whatever your observations were.
Really, my initial visit is to meet the employees so that they can know. Everybody was wondering who is this Mary Margaret. Nobody knows Mary Margaret. When that came out in the paper, I said, now the whole world is gonna know. But really, people know me as Maggie, and so everybody was asking who's that. And so I made it a point. I wanted to go around and meet everyone. And I wanted the staff also to know who I was. So that was the purpose of the initial visit to every division. I have not completed it, as if my schedule keeps getting detoured to several other things. But I visited the big department, the big divisions, and just the short touching base of with the divisions, the division directors. They are actually at a, I would say it's a comfortable place with their divisions. Um, Funding has been an issue. The same issues keep coming up with, like, for example, we talk about staff that we might be losing, essential staff we might be losing because of ARPA, but it doesn't stop there. There are staff who are also partially funded under ARPA. And my question was to everyone is, what was the sustainability plan? It probably would have been just easier to give everybody a bonus or something. But to put that in the salary as part of the salary is, especially for civil service employees, changes that changes everything. You have to find that. What is the sustainability plan? There is none. So that's the biggest discomfort right now. Otherwise, I would think that our services to the community, our services to the clients we serve are still intact. But because of that, there's just, I'm actually in awe about it. I'll tell you, I'm speechless about it, because I have never heard that you would put a salary that is not sustainable on a permanent position. So yeah, that's one biggest challenge right now. Not just losing an employee altogether, but also those that are still in the system, that are essential employees, that are just partially funded. So that's where my vision, my, what I saw with the departments, the divisions are at. I'm stumbling because I cannot understand how that could happen. No, and I wholeheartedly understand that it's one of those things. And Senator Paul asked me, "Are you sure?" This is one of those things that you have to wonder about that question. But yes, I'm willing to tackle that. I will find a way. I don't know yet how, but I will find a way.
Thank you. Part of the problem we're seeing from this side of the street is that record keeping in all government agencies is very lax, and I find that unacceptable, given that a lot of our agencies and departments deal with federal funds, and that's a no-no when it comes to grants. And this is not specific to DCCA. We see it throughout the government. I would like to make a recommendation that you give attention to and perhaps provide training for that. One of the other recommendations I would like to make and have experienced myself is customer service. We find that people are not answering government lines. So that's a big frustration on our part and also on the public's part. And that's a big issue that we are currently facing right now. So I hope you give that some thought and implement some kind of plan or protocol training throughout your department. One of the highlights identified in the transition report, it also recognizes that DCCA divisions are unfamiliar with, and Senator Paul, I think, alluded to this, or Senator Mendiola alluded to this, that divisions under DCCA are very compartmentalized. They don't understand the function of other divisions. And that's to be expected somewhat, given that their offices are so scattered. So I hope better collaboration between the divisions are implemented under your leadership. And you mentioned also that HPO will be losing one archaeologist because their salaries were funded by ARPA. How does this affect the permitting process? HPO is a critical and integral part of the permitting process in the government. So I want to understand, how does that affect? Will permits now be put on hold until such time there's a resolution to that position?
No, permits are still being reviewed, worked on. If they're on hold, I trust that if there's a real big, serious, important reason why. And they will not be on hold because of the absence of an archaeologist. We have a few days to make sure that we find a way to retain him. And the division director and I have met about that. And I assured her that a staff archaeologist is very essential. Cannot emphasize that enough. We cannot move forward without a staff archaeologist. So that's one of the priorities right now. We're gonna make sure that he's retained. We have a few days before his notice, because he's ARPA, that he was given a notice. We have a few days before that expires. And so we will be walking his papers through to make sure that we don't lose him, because yes, that will disrupt our operations in HPO. So
Thank you for enlightening us on that. With respect to the CCAC, and I think even though you've been out of DCCA for 19 years, I think it's fair game to ask you current events happening at DCCA, because you practically grew up in DCCA. And I know you're very familiar with the programs and services that they provide. CCAC, the Commonwealth Culture for Arts Council, they hold signature events such as the Flame Tree events and all that. I'm curious how or where are these funds deposited if you collect any funds with respect to registration or the like?
Um, if I remember right, the funds that come in for it really just support the actual event. Uh, if they're deposited, it's deposited into the general funds. I know it's not deposited into CCAC, or else they would have money for the next event. So it's always whatever funds we get. I am not aware that it comes back. It really just goes into the general fund. Uh, but I asked this with the public auditor's presentation about a week or two ago. Uh, a lot of our events, in the absence of funding, are we allowed to ask for sponsorship, for example? The trainer's response was no. So that kind of just took us back several steps again. Okay, we need to figure out, so what's our plan C? Uh, so yeah, there's several challenges on in our way that has become not just stumbling blocks but almost walls, and we need to find a way to make our programs happen. So there's federal grants, but it's not overnight. And sometimes when you think about how you can make a big event happen, it's really sponsorship. But who do we ask for that other than our business community? And so that's something with a public auditor that I really need a strong opinion on, and also the attorney general. But money that comes in, I know will be accounted for. I know you kind of mentioned something about on accountability and documentation, but that's one of my forte. So I'm all about documentation. I'm on my and the staff in the secretary's office will tell you, if it's anything that I've been honing in on the last 6 days, is where's this document? Where's that document now? Did you write a note on that? Is there a paper trail? Did you at least put a stick on, that so and so is over there? So I'm all about documentation.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to hear that. And one of the being called to serve as a secretary for a major department in our government is challenging. And I'm glad you're acknowledging the deficiencies of the department you hope to serve in, because not everything is rosy, as we can probably predict financially. Moving on, the Chamorro Carolinian Language Policy Commission is also a division under the DCCA. My concern with that is that I haven't heard of any program to build capacity for language interpreters. I've had to interpret my own hearings, as everyone probably saw. So I'm concerned about that. I'd like to see, being that it is the mission of DCCA to preserve the culture and the language and traditions, I'd like to see a robust interpretation certification program so that we don't have to rely on just the courts to hire interpreters for. On occasion, we've had to need some interpreters here in the legislature. And so I'd like to be able to just call the DCCA for that. I hope you can build capacity in that respect. The transition report also highlights that the Office of Aging has watercraft, water vessels, and I'm baffled by that. Can you explain or elaborate, if you are aware, the situation, circumstances involving the Office of Manamco or the Aging Program purchasing water vessels?
Um, I'm thinking you're talking about the boat.
Yes.
Uh, yes, actually, I did kind of mention that in passing. Again, I have not sat down with the division director to get a full details on it, but they do use that to service some delivery of food. Uh, and yes, the Manomco has gone out on the boat.
Okay.
So
I was concerned about their safety. That's why
uh,
it baffles me. And you said service and deliver food where exactly? Are
to
we delivering?
Tinian, I
Tinian?
believe that what was said. Um,
Why not utilize boating safety or?
and one of my concerns was, do we have a captain for that? I mean, are we supposed to have a captain? And I'm assured, yes, there is a captain. So
That works at the Office of Aging.
with and I believe also with historic preservation.
Okay.
Yes. So
I'm just concerned about the funds being used. We can certainly utilize other departments to be a little bit more efficient.
yes. Yes, those came up several times in my meetings. So, but with my division directors, I have not met with them one on one to talk details about. So that boat has not been in full discussion.
Fair enough. You've only been here, been there 6 days. Fair enough.
Yes.
Moving on to NAP program, another division, the Nutritional Assistance Program under DCA. And I want to first commend the staff of NAP throughout the 2 major typhoons we've had. They've been performing superbly. They've been patient with the general public, and not only to NAP, but primarily to all DCCA staff. I've seen and witnessed a lot of the volunteers came out of DCCA as well as other government agencies, but truly NAP staff is to be commended for their patience during the issuance of pandemic vouchers and all that. So I want to thank them first of all. Given the bleak financial situation our government is facing in this year, how much does DCCA spend on office rental? Because I know your divisions are scattered. I don't know which divisions are renting from the private, businesses who have the area to accommodate the office. But how much do you know roughly how much the?
No, I have not gotten that far. I'm still trying to get into our personnel and making
Okay.
sure that we're still above water. But those are the things. I know that a lot of our divisions have moved out of rentals.
Okay.
DYS used to be renting, and they're one of our big divisions also. So they've moved out of rentals. NAP is a different. Is different from all the other divisions because really they serve uh, you know 3,000 clients plus, and so to have that many clients even at 500 at a time come to a certain place to pick up their benefit, it has to be a unique place that can accommodate not just issuing but the confidentiality of meeting and processing clients. So NAP has been in that facility for a long time. And one of the things that, and this is just my 6-day tour, is that we need to make that drive through much, much more efficient and safer, better, conducive place for our employees also, not to be out there in it's either the hot sun or under the rain to issue coupons to drive through. So that's one of the things that we're going to be looking at. So rental will for sure come up in what we would be looking at. Well, what can we afford or what can we save?
Thank you. Rental is one of the biggest costs of government these days, so I hope you do look into that. With respect to making the drive-through more efficient, I'd like to ask you to do a survey with your clients, NAP clients, and see if that's you know, one of the things they'd like to keep. Do they like it? Do they not? I'm hearing from that division's employees that it is a safety and physical concern for them. So thank you for bringing that up. What are, we've been down this road. NAP only has an MOA with the U.S. Department of Agriculture. We have been talking about migrating to the SNAP program. Are you familiar or are you aware what is the barrier from fully implementing SNAP here in the CNMI? I think it's about time we move into SNAP and get the EBT cards and all that. Can you elaborate?
The EBT is coming up. That was the latest. We're looking at probably the latter part of this year. But I have yet to see the plans. Again, when I meet with the acting administrator, I have yet to see the full details of the plan, how that's going to be about after June, July, something like that. So that's with the EBT. The SNAP, I don't have any other update, but I do have a meeting with SNAP representative from the federal government. It's a virtual meeting on, I believe, on Friday, day after tomorrow. So I will have more details after that meeting.
Thank you, and I hope you come back and give us some updates. It really helps us do our job a little bit better. With respect to the respite program, is that still an active program?
It's there. It exists. It does not have funding.
What does that mean? Does not have funding? Are services being affected as a result?
It used to have funding, and I believe that the funding was initially was putting the program together, organizing it in a way that it had documentation. I don't believe that it had subsidy money at the time. I don't know in the last 19 years how it progressed after that, or how funding has depleted, but I am told that the program still exists. It's not completely died out, but that funding, federal funding, I'm guessing, is not there anymore. So those are one of the things on our federal funding applications that we have on our list to try to revive and apply for, so that our Manomku can. So far, I don't believe we have any clients on respite at this time. Yeah.
I'd like for you to consider, since services are not being provided and we're tasked and charged at the legislature to identify divisions that we could, merge or in order to save costs. So I'd like for you to take a look at that. The LIHEAP, however way you pronounce it. It's the low income utility assistance program. Do you know why it's under the Carolinian Affairs Office, or housed there at least? Is it because of lack of a building or office space?
Yes, I believe that it's just trying to find a place for it. At one time, the secretary's office was in the building where the post office is at, where Arts Council is at, and it was pretty congested in there. So LIHEAP also has clients, so it needed to
How
be
many
at a
clients do
place.
they service?
I don't believe it's the same as, I'm thinking they have about 2,000, but I'd have to double check on that. Yeah.
Thank you. Just yesterday, Members of the legislature attended a legislative breakfast sponsored by health professionals in our community. And one of the things they presented on is child obesity. And I'm wondering, is the sports division still an active division under DCCA? And what are the programs they offer, or what are the plans to help mitigate child obesity, which is starting to be seen as a serious concern in our community due to smartphones and the like. So is the sports division still active under DCCA?
I don't think so. The MASA has taken over the sports
Okay.
program. So the MASA has been out of the DCCA, I believe, for several years now.
Okay. I
Yeah.
didn't know that. Thank you. That's all I have for now. Are there any other members who would like to ask follow-up questions or clarifying questions? Recognize Senator Donald Manglonia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Acting Secretary, I think that some of the strengths from your division director could be utilized to assist other agencies. I know Director Walter has been very active in trying to get grants, and just being able to get a boat for a division such as the aging program. That's something that's commendable to assist not only the participants of the center with recreation activities, but also to reduce the cost of transportation, transporting goods to the islands of Rota and Tinian. But what some of these questions that I had could also be a recommendation if it's something that you don't have the answer to now, such as I know the chair brought up EBT, and I know you've already had meetings scheduled, but it just focusing on EBT and transitioning into EBT instead of the paper food stamp could alleviate some of the costs, as well as some of the issues that were brought up during the transition period, and that how utilizing employees from other divisions just to assist with the distribution, as well as reducing the traffic that's going on around that office, as well as I'm sure that the stores and the banks would really appreciate that transition out, because there's a lot of these and we've heard of reports where how the paper money could be used for other things versus how it could be controlled through the EBT. And so that was a question, but you answered that. Another concern that I have is the Chamorro Carolinian Language Policy Commission on the citizen-centric report, and I'm just going to state this. It mentions that it was established with accordance to with the CCLPC Act of 1982, with a vision that families in the Sinamai will be socially and culturally enriched with Chamorro and Carolinian languages. This program strives to strengthen, promote, and preserve the native languages of the Marianas. And I don't know of any programs that this division has come up with. I know that there is a very big disconnect with the culture and history of the Carolinian culture on Rota, at least. I never knew anything about the Carolinian culture other than it being a part of the anthem growing up in high school, and we don't have any Carolinian speakers on Rota to even share the language or the culture. And even just seeing as how a lot of our younger population has can't speak the language fluently, what we want to know is how can you assist the division in trying to bring back some of these programs or activities that could help start that back up, or even continue to preserve it for future generations. Guam, as you know, they've come up with a lot of programs, especially in the summer, to have these summer programs that focuses around that language building and protecting and preserving. Another recommendation that I have, and something that we can definitely come back to if confirmed, and we can discuss this during the budget process. Some of the issues that are being brought up today and getting the updates on that. If you can focus also with the DYS, Division of Youth Services, just trying to look at statutes that are pretty much archaic or need, some kind of amendments to meet with the times, as well as some of the issues that are going on with staffing that could assist and that are changing as well in the world. Like issues on neglect, or issues on age of consent and things of the like. And so what are some of the things that we as legislators can do to assist the division in updating some of these laws that are kind of affecting the current um, uh, employees with and trying to be more efficient and trying to be more responsive to other issues that they could be assigned to. And then also, like the chair had mentioned, we've already started to try to put together recommendations on how we can merge or maybe close out some of these programs. Human services, a lot of these could be transferred over or partnered up with, for example, Office of Indigenous Affairs or Office of Youth Affairs under the governor's office, or maybe them moving over in with you and kind of merge and reduce some of the operational costs between these two different divisions. As well as, my other concern is the Commonwealth Child Care Development Fund, that division. I know there wasn't any FTEs provided in the current budget, but I do know that that program is alive and well, and a lot of our people are availing of that program and going into that child care field. I know under the most recent citizen-centric report, there was a little or around 5.7 million that was used to help fund this program, and I'm assuming pay providers. So I wanted to find out how long will that program sustain itself, and is there continuous funding beyond that. And so those are stuff I wanted to bring up now. Whether you have the answer to that or not today, that's something that I'll allow you to expound on. If not, these are some of the recommendations that I'm offering for you to look at. And then again, should you be confirmed by the Senate, this is something that we can definitely bring back at another time to get updates as you continue to understand your department more. So before I yield, Acting Secretary, is there anything that you want to add to that, or maybe answer if you do have the answer for that?
On the language commission part, I'm happy to share that working for the humanities a short period of time, I had the pleasure of screening one video that was made for Chamorro language, and I I think they would probably plan to do a one for Carolinian, but there was also talk about a sequel. So, but this particular video was we aired it to all the public elementary school students, and they were ecstatically excited. They loved it, and it was a video that it was a film that had Chamorro language for. It was about this animals that came to life. They were like puppets, and they spoke Chamorro. And JJ Concepcion came in, sang a Chamorro song, and and everybody sang half a day. Todo Maulik, how are you? Even the kids in the audience were singing it. It was so beautiful. But having that, seeing that, it really inspired me also to come up with ideas on how to work with the kids to bring our language up to par and stronger in our community, so our kids can be speaking tomorrow. Um, what I think humanities has funding, and we can tap onto that. And my vision, and I have yet to share it with the acting director of Language Commission, was that we can network with Jonas Barcinas, with the schools who handles the Chamorro Carolinian language and heritage. So that's one. uh, it's a plan in moving ahead. So yeah, that's one. I just kind of smiled about that because I was inspired too by that film. And we had people that were familiar to the community, and some of the kids, hey, Shanti Thailand is there. It was very inspiring that they could recognize people, the cast in the film. So yes, and the other questions you have, I would be happy to provide you with a written response once I meet with the division directors, and I've written down some of the things that you've asked.
Thank you, Acting Secretary. At this time, Madam Chair, I yield.
Thank you, Senator Manglonia. Recognize Senator Paul Manglonia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We heard from the nominee, and we have read also the the report of the transition committee, and I know that we have a lot of challenges ahead of us, both financial and in the sense of the personnel and the operation side. But after hearing from the nominee, I feel more comfortable and confident that we can address all of these issues. We heard from the secretary that there are employees actually that not only the 13, so that's kind of alarming. I guess he's referring to the 40 other employees that are supported by local ARPA. So I'm confused with the definition of local ARPA. And I'm glad that Senator Dono here, Chairman for Fiscal Affairs, who also represents the Senate in the joint Fiscal House and Senate Committee, working with the administration. And we're going to be hearing from them on their recommendation on how to amend fiscal year 23 budget. And for that reason, that maybe we ask our staff to start looking into to this issue with CNCA, being that it's a very large agency, because we're gonna have to call you back, Madam Secretary, in the near future, because I know that even with the recommendation from the Joint Committee, we're still going to have to tackle some of this in order to fit it in with the budget that ultimately will be your your headache, right? When they cut it, because there's no more ARPA. I assume this local ARPA means maybe a lump sum um, allotment to your department to sustain those salary increases that was given to all the other employees, and now it's not going to be there. So these are concerns that kind of worries us so much, especially also with the NAP program. um, just reading this, that they're trying to go from NAP to SNAP in July, and now that's up in the air because the state government share might not be met. I have to admit that this is something the legislature have to be briefed further on. The advantage, I mean, what additional benefit would the recipient get uh, if that program was implemented? Then now we might sacrifice because we're not going to implement that in July. So again, I don't expect to understand, for you to give us anything today, but something that we need to come back. And I encourage our chairman to do a committee meeting, even start out with your department, so we understand all of these issues that we have before us, and also recommendation on how we can address some through federal grants, right? And through working, as mentioned by the chairman, with Indigenous Affairs Office, Carolina Affairs Office, working with other departments to make sure we don't sacrifice these programs. Um, there's a lot of questions here, no, Madam Chair, and I know this falls on the budget committee, so I just encourage our staff. I don't know if Devin here is assigned to fiscal or the other staff, but we need to actually start looking into these issues with the budget adjustments and and the programs that might have to be kicked down the road further because of the lack of ARPA money. But I'm confident, Madam Secretary, that with you at the helm there, that I think we can work through with less pain for our people out there and our employees. No, thank you so much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Palmanglonia. Anything further? If there are no other members who would like to ask questions of the nominee, we will close that portion of the agenda. Question and answer portion is hereby closed. And would you like to make a closing statement, Ms. Sablon, before I officially close the meeting? So it's optional.
I'm good.
Okay.
I thank you all again for this day, for this opportunity. I thank the governor and the lieutenant governor and my family, and especially those people who made time to come out and support me, and those that couldn't make it. That really, I'm fine. I'm totally fine. A couple of times, Senator Paul asked me if I was sure. Uh, I'll think about it, but for now, I'm very sure. I shall try my best.
Thank you. You are hereby dismissed.
Thank you.
Thank you. We've just concluded the hearing to examine Ms. Maggie Sablon's nomination as Secretary to the Department of Community and Cultural Affairs. And I'd like to state for the record that this committee has determined that Ms. Mary Margaret Santos Sablon possesses the educational and professional experience for the position of Secretary, Department of Community and Cultural Affairs. Ms. Sablon has demonstrated the commitment to lead DCCA in a direction to promote fairness and compassion to the clients they serve and to the disadvantaged members of our community, including our Manamko. It will be this committee's recommendation to consent to or confirm the appointment of Ms. Maggie Sablon to the full Senate body. Thank you. I would now like to recognize Senator Donald Magnolia for the proper motion to adjourn this meeting. I'm sorry. We cannot adjourn. We still have one more nominee to examine this afternoon. So we will now take a recess. It is 12:16 p.m. We will return at approximately 2 p.m. for the nomination, to hear the nomination or examine the nomination of Mr. Sylvan Igisomar, nominated for the position of Secretary, Department of Lands and Natural Resources at 2 p.m. in this chamber. Thank you.